So the topic I chose is teenagers and credit card debt. I chose this topic because I think that it's very important, especially today's teenagers. I don't think they realize just how hard it can be to climb out of credit card debt and how long it could take. They don't think a lot of them don't think past high school or past college to realize that they could be having grandchildren by the time they get out of debt that they create in their teens. So here's a little video, and it's just some statistics that I've gathered from different sources about teenagers and credit cards.
Created using Powtoon.
So what do teenagers think about having credit cards? So I asked my students, I have 196 students from grades 10 through 12, about whether or not they believe they should have credit cards and why they think they should or should not. The majority of my students, which I'm very happy to say, said that they shouldn't have credit cards. And some of the reasons were they believe they aren't responsible enough to keep a credit card. Others felt that they could ruin their credit before they even leave high school. And a lot of them said, well, we have debit cards. That's just easier because we can't spend more than we have, which I think is a very, very good thing. And then there were those students, and there's a lot less of them, that said we should have credit cards, and most of their reasons were things like they believe they should because it would make their lives easier, or this way I don't have to keep asking my parents for theirs, or what if I really need something, then I can just get it right then and there. Those students are typically a little more irresponsible, and that's kind of obvious with their responses. I also asked an algebra teacher at Rio Norte Junior High School, and I asked her what she thought about the curriculum and how to include it and what she thinks of teenagers and learning about credit cards and credit card debt and credit scores. And she believes that students do need to learn about credit cards and algebra. She thinks it should be part of the curriculum. They need to learn about how interest works and the real cost of what credit card debt can bring. She thinks that most students don't know what they're getting into and that they need to understand there's not such a thing that's free money, that's what it feels like when you swipe that credit card. She feels that a long, lengthy credit card unit should be added to the algebra curriculum, and that starts in junior high, can go all the way through graduation before they go to college. And she doesn't think that teenagers understand how easy it is to get in trouble with credit cards until they've created a problem. And the problems really aren't going to affect them until they're adults and they really have to start paying for it. I don't think that she doesn't think that they quite realize it, and I agree. So she's hoping that with the new Common Core standards that this will be introduced and it'll be discussed at length because it is a real world problem that affects teens. So here's another little just video about what the real cost of debt can add up to.
If you have a large amount of credit card debt and are only making the minimum payment every month, you're not going to pay it off anytime soon. In fact, if you only make minimum payments, it could be decades before you find yourself debt-free again. Say, for example, you have $10,000 in credit card debt, which is represented by the water level in this glass. In order to pay off that $10,000, you'll need to empty that entire glass by returning the money you owe to your credit card company. So every month you pour out a little water by making your minimum payment, which is on average around $142. That payment lowers the total amount you owe to $9,858. That's a little bit lower, but not much. Unfortunately, there are outside influences that can raise that amount, mainly being interest. Interest normally charges you around 17% of your outstanding balance at the end of every month. After 17% interest on your outstanding balance is charged, that brings your new debt amount to $9,999. So after 1 month, you've paid your credit card company $142, but your total debt has only gone down by 1. The next month, if you still only make the same minimum payment of $142, your debt will be down to $9,857. But again, there's that pesky interest sneaking up on you. So after paying 17% interest again, your debt is back up to $9,998. That means after paying your credit card company $284, your total debt has only gone down by $2. After a year of making that same minimum payment every month, you'll have paid your credit card company $1,846, but you'll still owe $9,995. That means it'll take you an entire year just to lower your debt by $5. And a year later, you've only lowered what you owe your credit card company by another $5. Eventually, you'll see that if you took action to lower your debt, the money you're paying the credit card company could go towards things that you'd much rather have, like a used car, or a brand new car, or part of your child's college education, or even grad school. Then, after a quarter century and more than $40,000, your debt will only be $1,578 less. Only after 35 years without a single late or missed payment will you finally start to see some progress when you have a little more than $1,000 left to pay. Then, after 36 years of paying $142 minimum payments and 17% interest every month, you will finally have paid off your entire $10,000 of debt. But in order to pay off that $10,000, you've taken more than 3.5 decades of your life and spent more than 60 grand. Just imagine if you had an extra $61,060. You could have used that for anything from shopping and vacations to paying your mortgage or rent. Or you could just set it aside for retirement. You could even have spent that money on your children or grandchildren. Because even if you didn't have them before you got into debt, you could wind up with both of them after 36 years.
So I thought that was a good visual representation of what credit cards can really cost. So in conclusion, I think that credit cards are a big part of everybody's lives, my life, and probably everybody I know. And it's important that we start to educate our teens on the dangers that are associated with this kind of debt. I mean, it can lower your credit score and affect you, like I said, getting houses or cars later on in life. It's a topic that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be put into the state standards and taught as early as middle school and through all of high school, because even when teenagers graduate from high school, they go to college, they're still teenagers. They're not young adults. I mean, they're young adults, but they're not grown-ups yet. They need to understand the dangers of this. Thank you.